After the unprecedented price hike of Meta's Quest 2 VR headset, a lot of people started wondering if a similar move could come from the more coveted big three console manufacturers, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. Well, it seems like it'd be a PR nightmare. A number of reports and factors seem to be growing that Microsoft and more specifically Sony could be considering a price adjustment. According to a report from Bloomberg's Takashi Mochizuki, Nintendo has said outright that they have no plans of raising the price of the Switch. However, both Sony and Microsoft declined to comment when asked about potential price hikes for PlayStations and Xboxes respectively. Now, why wouldn't Microsoft and Sony just put a lot of unfounded fear and speculation to rest by just having a plain and simple comment saying they had no plans to raise the prices of Xboxes and PlayStations at this time? There's probably two scenarios here. On one hand, perhaps they weren't ready for that type of a question, and an official response needs a series of approvals, from the top all the way down. But on the other, it could be that they're keeping the option open, for a price adjustment on the back burner. As explained by the Bloomberg article, the yen in Japan right now is weak, which has triggered price hikes on all sorts of electronics. However, consoles have maintained 100 yen to the dollar conversion rate that today sees their consoles as much as $100 cheaper in Japan than elsewhere in the world. Scalpers buying and reselling consoles was already a huge issue when the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S first launched, but now the balance between supply and demand is even worse, with consoles being bought up in Japan and then resold overseas at double the price. Basically, scalpers are stocking up on cheap consoles and then holding onto them until a time when they know there will be a heightened demand for them, like the major release of a new must-have title, like God of War Ragnarok, for example. Now, the reason hardware manufacturers like Sony and Microsoft would care, even though theoretically scalpers are buying hardware at retail price, off of shelves physically or digitally, is actually twofold. For one, despite their efforts to increase supply, demand is not being met, especially if consoles meant for one region are being shipped off to other parts of the world. Then there is the bigger issues of attachment rates and software sales. Consoles collecting dust in a warehouse to artificially strain supply aren't being used to buy games on PlayStation or Xbox storefronts like they normally would if they were just sold to the average person. You probably know this already, but most consoles are sold at a loss or very close to break even, and so console manufacturers actually make most of their money on attached software sales, which in the past have also been strong insulators against recessions and inflation. But now, between the rampant scalping, the global chip shortage, COVID, and the global economy in general, software sales are declining, which in turn may lead console makers like Sony and Microsoft to consider a price adjustment, at least in some regions. Analysts from Japan seem to think that not only could this price hike happen pretty soon, but it's actually the right move to make, at least according to them. Toyo Securities analyst Hideki Yasuda said that a large secondary or scalper market suggests that retail prices are too low, and by not raising prices in their domestic markets, Sony and Nintendo are basically creating room for scalpers to operate, and their shareholders are losing profits they should be pocketing. Pointing to higher prices of TVs, headphones, monitors, fridges, dishwashers, and printers on the back of the weak yen, Morningstar analyst Kazunori Ito suggested consumers in Japan are getting used to price hikes. I don't see them getting upset if game consoles followed suit. To which I might say those other electronics and devices have always kind of had variable prices that kind of go up and down with, the release of new models and things like that. They don't usually have a 10-year life cycle for like a monitor or something. It usually doesn't last as long as a console. And, an even bigger point here is that those types of devices don't have communities and fandoms built around them that are gonna light you up online if you make a misstep, like, increasing the cost of a console that's already hard to get by $100 or whatever. If GE raises the price of one of their lines of refrigerators or dishwashers or something, not that many people are gonna care. There's a lot of options out there, and obviously, again, there just aren't communities and fan bases built around your average microwave or whatever. With a console price increase, you will likely incur a ton of gamer wrath online, social media and forums, as well as you know, pushing those customers into the arms of your competitor. Most likely, whoever were to raise the price first on their console would be a really, really bad move. And more likely, you're going to end up pushing a lot of customers into PC gaming, which has just become so much more accessible over the years. In addition, just rising the price of consoles or any hardware isn't going to end scalping, right? Like, that is a very frustrating idea because I think it could potentially just make things much worse. You're basically just increasing the demand here, because if you raise the price of consoles, then scalpers also will just raise their prices, and they can just play that game forever. And even if they don't raise their prices, then you're encouraging, you know, the general audience to go out there and buy available scalped consoles, because now the price points aren't going to be that different at all, and people are going to want to buy that shiny new toy instead of waiting for it to become available at retail, which is the heart of the larger issue: supply. The only way to adjust this issues with scalping and the software attachment rate simultaneously is to increase the supply of consoles and make sure that the people who are buying them actually want to play them and buy more games there in those ecosystems, right? That's the only way. I think Sony and Microsoft both know this, and which is likely why they won't raise the prices of consoles and try to kind of hang this situation out with, you know, the global economy, the chip shortage. It's also why I think we've seen a statement from Sony recently who said that they plan to have a lot more PS5s, you know, during the holiday season this year. Obviously, that's been the struggle for the last couple years, but it looks like things are finally starting to get a little bit better there. All right, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and for more video game news and updates, please stay tuned right here to Inside Gaming.